Thank you so much, Mark. Um, Really a pleasure to be with you all today. I was just looking through names and faces coming on and really delighted to see you. I need this practice just as much as all of you. So I want to just offer today two very, very simple but important teachings that I have found grounding in my own mindfulness practice during this time, and just take this opportunity to practice together. So, as you're arriving here, let's just begin with an invitation to the extent possible, set aside all unnecessary distractions for these next 25 minutes or so. You can put your phone on airplane mode, do not disturb if possible, minimize any windows that you don't need to have up, maybe clear your table or desk of any clutter. And let's just begin to practice together. Wherever you find yourself, you are welcome to close your eyes or just find a space a little bit in front of you to direct your gaze. Let's just enter together by taking 3 good breaths. Just in your own pace. Let your body, in its own wisdom, guide you to the pace that it wants to take. If you're sitting, feel your body grounded into the floor or the chair beneath you. Feel your spine rise up tall, taking a seat of dignity. We're going to practice for a bit today with this aspect of Gevura, this aspect of strength and solidity and boundedness. And just want to offer this intention that I actually learned from Mark at some point in time, um, that Gevura is about beginning to notice the boundary between ourselves and what is just beyond us. Chesed, so we practiced with last week and the first week of the Omer, is about the underlying truth that ultimately we are all connected to one another. We are all one. Havaya echad. But just alongside that is the twin truth of this human experience that we live separate individual lives, that our experience often is one of separation. And we can come into mindfulness of just that sense, that physical sense in our own bodies of what is us and what is not us. So I want to invite you to bring your awareness to your skin. Just noticing that protective barrier that insulates our bodies, that divides between ourself and the world just beyond us. Just notice the feeling on your skin. becoming aware of temperature, maybe a little tingling of air. Maybe noticing sensation of any clothes you're wearing. Beginning to be aware of both pleasant sensations, perhaps neutral, or maybe even sensations of discomfort. Grounding our awareness moment to moment in this experience of our bodies that carry us. It's so often rush around, race around, that hold our racing minds. And the shell of our bodies that mediates between our inner life and the world just beyond us. Can you bring curiosity and awareness to that space, that area, that aura almost that lies just millimeters beyond your body, just hovering? What do you notice? Does it feel like a strong boundary, a clear boundary? Does it feel like a more permeable boundary? There's no right or wrong answer to the question. There's just becoming aware of your own experience in this human body in this moment. This container. As we sit with growing awareness of the kli, the vessel of our bodies that holds us in strength, the gevura of boundedness, I want to offer one more dimension drawn from the wisdom of our parsha that can bring a different quality of awareness to our practice. And while I'm teaching, just continue to bring your awareness back to your body. You can continue to keep your eyes closed if you like. So one of the topics within Parshat Shemini that we read this Shabbat, that on its surface is not obvious grounds for wisdom in mindfulness, is about kashrut, about kosher and non-kosher animals. And one of the principles in the laws of kashrut is the principle of batel b'shishim. Something is nullified, a trace substance or a meat and milk, anything not kosher, can be nullified if it is less than 1/60th of the whole. So if you're cooking a big pot of meat chili and a drop of milk falls in, it's a big cup, it might be a problem, but as long as the pot is large enough and the drop is small enough, your soup is okay. Your soup is kosher. So I learned from one of my teachers, I've forgotten who at this point, many years ago, brought this wisdom of this ratio in this vessel into mindfulness practice and shared that we are like these containers. We are like these pots, these vessels. And when something difficult happens in our experience, when that drop of pain and suffering falls in, we can't control the amount of the drop. We can't control what happens to us. But we actually can expand with our hearts and minds and our compassion and our practice. We can expand the size of the vessel. We can create a container of expansiveness that can grow large enough to nullify the bitterness, to nullify the pain of whatever drop has fallen in. So to do this in practice, just want you to sense, I invite you to sense just the size of the container that you are holding right now. The awareness of the space you're taking up and the space that you have within you to hold all that happens to you. Maybe in this moment it feels like everything is rattling around and something's the size of a matchbox or a teacup. So much volatility. So much to hold. So with each breath we take, ever so slowly, see if you can expand your vessel. See if you can grow the size of that container ever so widely, just incrementally with each breath. Find a little more spaciousness. We sing in Hallel, Min hametzar karati ya, anani v'merchav ya. I called out from the narrow place, and you answered me, God, with merchav, with expansiveness. This is one of those core qualities of the divine that is present with us in potential always. Merchav. Sensing in your own body, where can I make more space? Where can I breathe in and expand the container? Perhaps you notice that those boundaries between your body and the world around you maybe have softened a bit. Coming into a little awareness now of the space that you are held within, the room you're sitting in, indoors, outdoors, in a house, in an office, in a car. Just noticing where you feel tightness, constriction, and also where there is expanse. Staying, staying within your body, I want to invite you to see just how much we can expand that container outward. So just begin to bring to mind the awareness of maybe the larger space that you're held within, the larger building, the area where you're present right now, the people on this screen, both the ones you can see and the ones tuning in now and later. An awareness of all of the corners of the world that we are touching into just at this very moment, rooted in our bodies and yet expanding outward. Neighbors next door, the other inhabitants of the building you're in, your neighborhood, your street. Can your awareness grow to hold in your heart your whole city, your state, holding kind of bird's eye view of all of the life present in the place where you are, holding one another with love and with strength. You expand outward even more to your country, to the world. Ve'al yoshvei tevel, everyone dwelling in this place. Let's take just another minute of practice. I'll invite us to come back together, close with Mourner's Kaddish. On your own time, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. A little smile of gratitude to the others you've been practicing with, the others in this container, holding one another. And with that, if you have anyone in particular that you are remembering today and saying Kaddish for, you are more than welcome to put their name in the chat so we can hold them in memory with you. And do we have the words of Kaddish that come on the screen, or should I just lead them?
Rachel will share it, and I'm happy to lead it. So thank you so much, Lauren. Really just so beautiful. Really grateful. Let's seal that beautiful practice with an opportunity for those of you in mourning or observing yard site to recite the Kaddish and put the name or names of those you'd like to honor in the chat now. And as always, if you're not reciting Kaddish, we invite people just to stay present, offer your compassion, support your gavura to uphold those who are in mourning, who I invite to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Thou,
Amen.
Yalma
Yama
Divrat,
divrach kirte v'yamlicha chute
Ayechon,
v'chechon v'yamechon
Chaye
v'chaye
Dechol
dechol
Beit
Beit
Yisrael,
Yisrael
Hagala
v'gala
V'zman
v'zman
V'Yimru,
v'yimru
Amen.
amen.
Yehi Shmei
Yehesh
Rabba
me rabba
Mevarach
mevarach
Le'olam
le'olam
Amen.
v'lo
Yitbarach
Yitbarach
Yishtabach
Yishtabach
Ha'ar
Ha'ar
V'Yiman
V'Yiman
Adar
V'Tadar
V'Yitalev
V'Yitalev
Shmei
Yitalal Shmei
B'Rishma
B'Rishma
La'elam
V'chol
Yitbarach
Bechata V'Shvirata
Ad
V'Tishbechata V'Nekamata
Amiran
V'Yaman Amen.
Shama
Yeshama
Rabba
Rabba
Yishlama
Mishmaya,
Rabba
Mishmaya
Mishmaya
Hayim Aleinu V'Yako
Aleinu
Yisrael
V'Kol
Imru
Yisrael
Amen.
Seh
Amen.
Shalom Bimroma,
Seh Shalom
Oshe
Uya Seh
B'Roma
Shalom
Shalom, Aleinu
Uya
Uya
Seh
Aseh
Shalom
Shalom
Aleinu
Elko
Aleinu
Yoshe
V'Yako
Tevel,
Tevel
Yisrael V'Yako
V'Kol
Bekoil,
Yoshvei
Yoshe
Tevel
Tevel.
Amen.
Imru Amen.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today, as always. And just want to remind people that tonight and tomorrow is Yom HaShoah, the Hakvura, Day of Holocaust Remembrance Day, and also remembering the Jewish resistance. So tomorrow, our sit will focus on that. We're going to be led by Rabbi Mira Niculescu, who will be leading us for Yom HaShoah tomorrow. So we hope you can join us for that. And on Friday, Emily Hertzlin will join us to lead us to sit into Shabbat this coming Friday. As always, thanks for staying on. You're welcome either just to continue to sit with that beautiful practice that Rabbi Lauren invited us into, or join us for conversation. If you have a question you'd like to ask, put in the chat. I'll keep an eye out for that. If you'd like to just share any reflections on the practice today, feel free to use the chat function for that. Thanks to Rachel, as always, for holding our space beautifully. Lauren, thanks. That was really, really wonderful. And I guess I'm going to share, for me, and first of all, I never really thought about the use of that principle of kashrut, of batel bashishim, but it was really fantastic. Such a great Jewish mindfulness teaching about how something can be absorbed and nullified if we have a spacious enough container to hold it. And that we can get that from the laws of kashrut is really pretty fantastic. So that alone is worth the price of admission today. And what I became aware of since we started with Gavura and that kind of noticing, what our container is and noticing the nature of that boundary, permeable, porous container. What I was aware of is that I kept thinking, oh, the container is bigger than I think it is. Oh, and now it's bigger than I thought it was. Oh, now it's even bigger. That each time I have this illusion of like that came up for me until I realized that, well, ultimately, if I can expand my awareness, um, really I can hold anything. Everything can be absorbed or nullified in that, which of course is aspirational. Um, and the phrase that came to my mind as I was sitting there was the phrase which I have been known to utter sometimes is I can't handle this, I can't hold this. It's too much, which a lot of us may be feeling these days. It's just too much, right? So it made me feel like, wow, this is such a great practice for this right now because so frequently I feel like, oh no, not that. It was just like too much pain, too much to absorb, too much to deal with. And today's practice was just a really great reminder. I thought of when we have that awareness of feeling overwhelmed, the response can be to expand the container. So, well, this is by way of appreciating um, what you said, but maybe we can unpack it a little bit, go back and unpack it a little bit more, like maybe say a little bit more about, some people may be familiar with that principle of kashrut of batel bashishim, but maybe you can explain what it is Deborah's asking what the phrase is. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I have found this intention so helpful over the years. I think I got this from Rabbi James Jacobson Mazos, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it was he who first kind of drew this connection from kashrut to mindfulness for me. Yeah, so the idea here in kashrut is it's about a kind of living with what's the word I'm looking for? Living in a world that we don't have control over, where we have the best intentions of how we construct our lives, but then things happen, ish happens. And how do we live as mindful people in a world where accidents take place and problems arise? And, the instinct, I think, that one might have is, I got to dump out the whole pot. I'm done, and like I have, loved ones where like when they get overwhelmed, it's just like, I'm going to fling it all away. And so I feel like this teaching of kashrut is coming to say, okay, especially when your instinct is to nullify everything and say, I can't handle any of it. The response of the laws of kashrut is actually like, yes, you might have a problem. We'd be in trouble if if we let the entirety of the negative experience overwhelm our whole container, but we can also grow the size of the container. As you so beautifully said, like when you keep looking back at your own experience, actually, perhaps the container is a lot bigger than we initially think that it might be.
Right. Yeah, I think my default is to assume the container is quite limited, and like as Harris is saying in the chat, this is a great example. What we do every day here with this group is we can become aware that, oh, I'm not alone in this. We are sitting together, creating collectively a bigger container so that if I feel like I can't hold it, then we have this collective resources, which are, all part of it. So the other thing that came up for me, and keep an eye on the chat for questions, by the way, feel free to send that, is I guess I'm going to cite my colleague, Rabbi Sam Feinsmith, who I think of always as referring to the field of awareness and the limitless, luminous field of awareness, which is a phrase that Sam, I think, often uses when we become aware that we are aware, then we become aware that awareness is, I'm just thinking about what that container is, where we realize, oh, I'm really kind of deluded, or I am caught in this illusion about the limit of the container, when actually the container is always infinite, basically. Right? That's the reality. The reality is that the container is infinite. Kind of alluded to at the beginning when talking about like the move from chesed into gevura, that we start with that awareness of like, there's only love, there's only connection. And then we can move into the world of partials and distinctions and limitations. But preceding that or informing that is this world of limitless connection.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't really figure it out until I was in the meditation, but we kind of started with that notion of the limitlessness and then became aware of where we've sensed limitation and then brought it back out again.
Yeah. Just keep an eye on the chat there. Learn a lot of appreciation.
Thank you all.
Let's see.
Someone asked, and I'm not sure exactly what my response is, but Ricky said, can you expand that approach referencing other elements of the discipline of kashrut, maybe a simple part that we encounter daily? Yeah, I want to think what that could look like. I mean, certainly, certainly mindful eating practices always give us a chance to, to practice. I was talking with a friend who's staying with me right now, about who used to be a vegetarian but now eats meat, and she was saying she went to go get barbecue the other day, and she said, I can get brisket, but I can't get ribs, because then I become aware there's a bone, and then I know where the meat is coming from. I can't be in the delusion that it's just a non-living substance. Um, so I feel like and anytime we eat, we have this opportunity to then become aware of our connection to this living thing, this animal, this substance, where it grew, where it came from. And there's this geographic connection, could be halfway around the world, but already like the container of our experience expands anytime we eat even like I look at the back of a bag of nuts and I see 20 different countries that my almonds and my cashews came from, to get to me. Like, what a massive container.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like what you're saying, like, I mean, I think you're just pointing to like the whole the system of kashrut, whatever, whatever, however people want to think about it, is a mindfulness practice because it requires that you will become aware of what it is that we are ingesting at any given moment, right? And like what your friend said is also kind of goes to that. So like, I kind of want to be unaware of where this comes from, right now. I want to pick up on Julie's question, though, which is a really good one. That's this idea of expansive, the use of expansive.
Good.
It's a name of the divine. I don't, now you're a congregational rabbi, so maybe you can help me here. One of the Haftarot from the last couple of Shabbatot, um, at the end has this reference to the De'ah of Yud He Vav He filling the world. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
making.
don't know. We do a different triennial system, so we might be off from that one.
Okay,
But,
whatever.
yeah.
But it has about awareness, about De'ah, which usually translates. Da'at is usually translated as knowledge, but it also could be awareness. Awareness of Yud He Vav He fills the word. But I'm also thinking about from Hallel that we sing on Pesach and at the Seder about Min HaMetzar Karatiyah that I called out from the narrow place, Nani V'Merchav Yah, and I was answered from the spaciousness, the expansiveness of Yah. So I really like personally, I'm going to jump in before you answer the question, but I'm curious to see what you say. I love the idea of that expansiveness as the name of the divine, with the caveat that constriction is that, if you take a non-dualistic approach to the divine, God's also in the constriction and the non-expansiveness. So what say you to that question? How do you like the use of expansiveness as a name of the divine?
I mean, for me, that has just been true in my own experience. I mean, I remember this very vivid memory. I had just landed in Israel for my year studying there in rabbinical school, and I got in early one morning and got to my apartment and just stood in front of the window and closed my eyes and was, I don't know, I was davening or just being in this moment, and I felt this profound sense of spaciousness. And it was this really like visceral sense that I knew I was standing in my bedroom, and yet in my mind, the room felt like it was 10 times larger than it actually was. And I've had those experiences from time to time while praying, where the space just feels larger. And I can't explain it rationally. For me, there has always been this very intimate link between that feeling of expansiveness and the divine. For me, they are really one and the same. That God is the one who is making for more possibility and space, who is in all possibility and space, and I feel like that is within Yud He Vav He too, in that four-letter name. That is, was, will be, that sense of not just spaciousness of physical space, but spaciousness in time.
Yeah, that's really quite beautiful. Lovely. This really lovely comment by Nancy too about about use of nature, and I'm thinking about also, another psalm, Esai Elarim, lifting eyes to the mountains. I'm just thinking about, which has come up sometimes on our daily sit, of looking up at the sky, just sort of it's not easy here in Manhattan, to remember this in terms of sky, but thinking about what the impact is of seeing stars in the sky at night, but also just like seeing the blue of the sky during the day, and the impact that that has, of that expansiveness, that is a spiritual practice, a sacred moment in some way. But I do want to tie it back to the constriction, because I think that, for example, the example I was giving of like that thought of, oh, I can't, ugh, I can't take it. It's too much right now.
Yeah.
And I think of their divine being, and that for me is that sense of that it prompts me, and it leads, like the constriction leads me to the expansiveness, like you did
Yeah.
so beautifully today. It's like, oh, I can't hold it. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, look. Oh, look. It's bigger. The container gets bigger, right?
Yeah. And I think too, I'm thinking about this because I've been getting massages now monthly, which is a very nice gift. And I've had this real tightness in my neck the last couple of weeks. Don't know why. um, Very much, about stress and the state of the world. But I really I've just been practicing, because my habitual tendency is tightening around the pain. Okay, there's the constriction, there's an invitation
Mhm.
there. What is it like to create kind of this container of softness around that muscle, around that tension? If I surround it in my mind with
Mm.
space, can it loosen a bit? Um, can it grow?
Yeah, that's great. Kol hakavod for having
Well,
given.
it's still there, but I'm working on it.
All right. All right. I think about, like, in a lot of our practice, especially with body scans, that how we invite spaciousness and, ease to different parts of the body in that way. That is a spiritual practice. So, all right, we're at time, Lauren. Big treat to
Mm,
be with you today. Really grateful, especially a congregational rabbi, to make time in your schedule to lead us. So special thanks to you for doing so today. It's really always a pleasure to see you and practice with you. So thanks again on behalf of everyone here. And thanks to Rachel for holding our space. Looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow for practice with Rabbi Mira Nicolesco. And we'll hope to see you then to hold space together for Yom HaShoah tomorrow. Okay, everyone. Be well and safe until then. Many blessings. Thanks.
thank you.